in the Constitution does the president derive the authority to send federal law enforcement officers to the streets of American cities against the will of the elected officials in those cities?
Yes, well, what you're referring to is Portland, and 40 U.S. Code 1315 gives DHS the ability to deputize officers in any department or agency, like ICE, Custom and Border Patrol, and Secret Service, quote, as officers and agents. They can be deputized for the duty of, in connection with the protection of property owned or occupied by the federal government and persons on that property. And when a federal courthouse is being lit on fire, commercial fireworks being shot at it, being shot at the officers, I think that that falls pretty well within the limits of 40 U.S. Code 1315.
So that's a matter of protecting federal property, like federal courthouse in the case of Portland. Does he see limitations to that power? And how far does that power extend into the streets of the city of Portland? What are there limitations on that?
So under
that authority to protect a federal property.
Under the law, we believe that agents can conduct investigations of crimes committed against federal property or federal officers. And in the case where you have someone shooting off a commercial grade firework and then running across the street, we don't believe that that extends past our jurisdiction.
Thank you. On Portland, I'm sending agents to Portland as well as plans for Chicago. Why are these the right people to send? My understanding, these agents often work on human smuggling, drug trafficking, things like that. Do they have the right skill set, whether it's gun violence in Chicago or quelling unrest in Portland?
Well, first, let me add, they haven't been sent to Chicago. These DHS officials are currently in Portland protecting a courthouse. We do believe they're the right individuals for that, as does 40 U.S.C. 1315, the United States Code. It's egregious what's happening. The frequency jammers, the pellet and air rifles in Portland, it's being depicted as this peaceful scene. I can assure you it's anything but that, where you've had barricades trying to keep officers in the Hatfield, courthouse, injury to a Border Patrol team member's leg, injuries to the head, shoulder, and back of a deputy U.S. Marshal. A U.S. Marshal impaled his right hand on a board filled with nails set out by the protesters. This is not a peaceful scene, and I'm very thankful to our U.S. Marshals and ATF and others who are acting in accordance with a statute and protecting a federal building, and doing so at great cost to themselves. Yes.
Thank you, Kayleigh. Just going back to the Portland situation, what is sort of the policy justification for federal officers not identifying their agency and their arrest authority when they take a protester into custody?
So I've been told by DHS that there is insignia indicating that they're law enforcement. They, in the case you're referencing, did identify themselves to the individual being obtained, but that they don't identify themselves to crowds because it would put them at great risk. And I think you can see that, as I noted, when they're sticking their hands into boards left out by some of the rioters. Yes.